What's going on, guys? Dr. Andrew Fix coming back to you here on another episode of The Code. Like I say every time, really appreciate all of your time tuning in, listening to this episode, however you're listening to this podcast, whatever platform, whatever time of day. Uh, I really and we really appreciate your time. And hopefully I keep this one brief enough, but also I get the point across. And we're going to talk about an experience that I had last week, how that relates to the current healthcare system that we all deal with here in the United States. And if any of you are listening, not in the United States, you may deal with this same type of thing wherever you are. So, um, you guys know I'm from Physio Room. I'm wearing the shirt today, and one of the things that we pride ourselves on in our practice is the time that we provide our clients. Every time a client comes in, their appointment is one-on-one. We don't have aides. We don't have techs. Typically those appointments are an hour long, not 15, 20, 30 minutes, though we do 30-minute appointments, but that's really the minority. If we were to look across our schedule, the vast majority of them are 60 minutes long. And what I was able to do last week was we have a client that's coming in. He's 6 weeks post a knee replacement. This is his second knee replacement on his other knee. And I was able to accompany this person to their post-operative appointment with their orthopedics office. So 6 weeks, they're going into the ortho to get some x-rays, to touch base on things, to look at the status of how things are and kind of plan things out. And then they'll probably follow up again at, the 3 or 6 month mark. Anyways, I'm sitting in the appointment with him and speaking and listening with the orthopedic physician and the PA that's there. And one of the things that I found extremely interesting, right? I'm wearing a Physio Room shirt. He knows that I'm a physical therapist. This orthopedic practice, they have their own physical therapy department. It is directly downstairs from where the orthopedic office is. And it's a huge office, right? It just so happens to be very close in proximity to where one of our offices are here in the Denver area. Anyways, I said something about what we're working on in therapy, and then I let him know, the ortho know, a little bit about what our practice is like. And without skipping a beat, he says to me, "Yeah, I don't know if you've been downstairs or not, but as you can imagine, it's a little bit like a factory down there." And what he was referring to is that the clinic is so crowded with clients and that the schedule of the therapist is so full with people every day that the clients don't get a very personalized, individualized, they don't get very much time with the therapist each time they come in, right? They don't get a very personalized and individualized experience. It's kind of like a factory. They're just churning and burning clients through, and the therapists there probably see two, if not three times as many clients per day than our staff do at Physio Room. So then you might be thinking to yourself, well, how is that possible? Why don't you guys see more? Why would it be so different? And on that point, when the ortho said, yeah, it's kind of like a factory down there, we've actually been referring people out. So to other places, and he named off a couple practices in town. So the ortho, again, the orthopedic office has their own physical therapy department, but the physicians, because they don't like the quality of the um, experience that clients are receiving downstairs, they don't like the quality of the therapy. They're choosing to refer their clients elsewhere, where it takes money out of their practice's pocket, out of their practice's bank account, because they don't like the service, they don't like the product that's being offered. That's a huge problem, you guys, right? And of course, I'm grateful for it, because who knows, maybe our practice will benefit because we're providing a different quality of service compared to what the competition is right there. So why is this happening, right? And what I'm not doing on this conversation, I'm not um, harping on any of the actual providers. I'm not criticizing any of the actual therapists there in that office, because this is not their fault at the end of the day. The problem here is a healthcare system issue. The problem here is a health insurance issue. And what's happening, I don't know if you guys know this, but every single year in our profession of physical therapy, and across the board, probably for a lot of different medical professions, insurance companies are continuing to reduce reimbursement every single year. So what the insurance companies pay for physical therapy today in 2025 is less than it was in 2024, is less than it was in 2023, 2022, 2019, 2017, etc. And if you're like me, you're thinking, this makes no sense. Every year, we as consumers, you as consumers, pay more for your health insurance. The premiums and the cost to have that insurance goes up. And if you don't want your cost to go up and you choose instead to reduce down to a quote unquote lesser plan, a plan that has a higher deductible, a higher out of pocket maximum to try and get your premiums lowered, well, then, you're paying less premiums, but then you have to pay more of those out of pocket costs until you meet the deductible, until you meet the out of pocket maximum to where everything then starts to get covered. So why, if the insurance companies are being paid more and charging you more, why would they reimburse the medical providers less? It makes no sense, right? Every year in this country, the health insurance companies are among the small percentage of the largest companies in the entire country. They make the most money. They're making millions and billions of dollars, you guys. And some of this information is public knowledge. Like, you can see sometimes what the bonuses or what the salaries are of some of these top people at these places. And the numbers are insane, right? They're making millions of dollars a year off of the premiums and whatnot that we're paying. But then every year, it seems like your insurance is covering less and less and less. So if this is the case, if the quality of care at some of these practices that are quote unquote factories, higher volume, why would clients go there? Well, one of the reasons is because, like I said, providers, physicians will refer people there because they have a financial tie to that practice, which is typically the case at this orthopedic office. But since they're like overrun, they're too booked, too full with clients, they're scheduling people out somewhere else. But one of the other reasons is because we think that it's going to be cheaper, right? We think that it's quote unquote, it's in network, it's covered by my insurance, that it's going to be cheaper. But I want you to ask yourself, if you're somebody listening to this show, I would guess that you probably fall into the camp of people, the smaller percentage of people who are doing a lot of things to take care of themselves on a day in, day out basis. You're doing things to try to move the needle forward in your health, in your fitness, in your life. You might be somebody who, on a yearly basis, does not often meet your insurance deductible, does not often meet your insurance out of pocket maximum. So what that means is, no matter if something is in network or quote unquote covered by your plan, if you have not met your deductible, you are still going to pay the full amount for those services and those sessions until you do, right? Until you meet that. So using the example of physical therapy sessions, say somebody has a deductible of, I don't know, $3,000. I think that's what my wife and I's is. Maybe it's $3,500. If I go to physical therapy at a in-network place, I'm still going to pay the full cost of those sessions. I'm going to pay, quote, out of pocket until I reach my $3,000 or $3,500 deductible. But people don't often understand that, because many times you're not being charged or being billed right there in the office. You're receiving a bill after the fact. 1, 2, 3 months later, you're receiving the bill for all of the care that you received. And then, the hospital system or the office sends you this large bill, and then they offer you payment plans and all this stuff. So many people will go to the in-network practice because they think it's cheaper. But on a session by session basis, I can absolutely promise you that it is not cheaper necessarily to go to an in-network place versus an out-of-network or cash pay style office. We just looked up one of the hospital systems here in town, what they charge for physical therapy sessions on a unit by unit or on a session by session basis. And it's about $500 is what gets billed for those appointments. About $125 for every 15 minutes, because in a 15-minute increment, what gets billed is called a medical code, a CPT code. And then, typically 4 or more of those are billed in an hour time span. And each one of those bills out at $125 on the in-network practice, which is crazy. I mean, you could take that total number and, you could have 2 appointments at Physio Room for those $500, right? You depending on the rate you're paying, because we have different packages and pricing tiers, you might be able to have 3 appointments, right? So it's kind of crazy when you think about it, that that's what's being charged for these sessions. But people will go there because they think it's cheaper because it's, quote, covered by their insurance. We end up being the ones a lot of time to help people understand the difference between if something's being charged and you're having to pay towards your deductible, or if you've already met your deductible and now you're benefiting from what's called the co-insurance percentage or a copay or something like that, right? And if you have questions about your coverage, we can get into that. You can feel free to use my contact information and we can talk about it. But I just want to make sure you guys are armed with the knowledge that if you're somebody who takes care of yourself, that is generally healthy, that tries not to go to the physician's office for every little thing, you might not be somebody that meets your deductible on a regular basis. It's probably going to be significantly cheaper for you to seek out care in an out of network standpoint, right? It might be, depending on your job and your health insurance, it might be more appropriate for you to have an extremely high deductible plan where it will help you out in the case that there's an actual accident that takes place, that there's an actual, significant medical thing that takes place in the year, because then no matter what you have, you're going to meet your deductible anyway. But then you're going to save money on those premiums. Maybe you have a health savings account or something similar, or maybe you can take the dollars and reinvest them in your health to keep yourself healthy, to do things more proactively, as opposed to waiting for something to happen, or opposed to paying those higher bills that just go towards your deductible that you don't end up meeting anyways. Hopefully that makes sense, right, guys? Because I don't think too many people understand this from like a nitty gritty detail standpoint, because we end up having this conversation in the office all the time. And sometimes it's confusing, or it causes like a light bulb moment in people's mind where they're like, oh my gosh, I did not realize this. I didn't understand how the insurance works, how those dollars are working, the difference between paying towards the deductible, the difference between what the cost might be after the deductible. But it can be significantly different. And many times people just will do what they're told by the physician or what they're told by their insurance company without understanding the difference in the quality of care that they're receiving, because they might not know any better. And today in 2025, with all the changes that are happening in healthcare, with all the changes that are happening financially, with the trend that we're seeing towards people trying to better take care of themselves, we need to know this stuff so that we have the knowledge necessary to make the informed decisions on what's going to be best for ourselves, our family, and our futures. One of the other things that's definitely true is in an office like ours, and I'm not saying we're the only ones that do this. There's many practices like ours that we get to spend so much more time with the client that we can oftentimes achieve the same or typically a better outcome in a fewer number of sessions, right? And if bills to the insurance company or bills to the client are being created based on the number of sessions that you're there, would you rather use your time going 2-3 times a week to the traditional physical therapy office to receive maybe the same outcome, maybe not, versus what you could do in a practice like ours? Maybe you're coming in once a week, for example, or maybe you're coming in once a week for a few times. And then because you're starting to improve, we're even seeing you less frequently. We're giving you your time back. And though it's not going towards your in-network deductible, it's saving you so much time that you can use towards other things, spending with your family, spending on your health, catching up on sleep, like whatever, making more money. And, you get back that one finite resource that none of us have enough of, and that's time. So save yourself time, save yourself some money, make the decisions that are going to be best for you, your family, your future. And let me know if you have questions on this. I mean, I'm very passionate about this topic because I'm that person. I think in my adult life, I've only met the insurance deductible 2 particular times, once as an individual. And then last year we had our son, we had a baby. So of course, we met it with all of those bills, which, oh my gosh, if you've not had kids, wait till you see the bills when you do, for what the hospital stays cost and all this whatnot. So I really hope you found something valuable in this conversation. I hope if you have any questions or if you need any assistance, please use this as a resource. Let me know how I can help. And you'll find all the contact information and things there in the show notes. Otherwise, I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. We'll catch you on the next episode of The Code. And if you've never done so, Now's your opportunity to go drop to the review section of this podcast, leave a rating, leave a review. 5 stars would be amazing. And yeah, keep crushing it. And we'll see you next time. Later, guys.